Hey guys, today we're in Prague and the GFX 100 RF was finally announced. RF, by the way, stands for rangefinder. I have the silver and the black version here. I had the chance to test these two cameras before the release, and I will include some samples. I will tell you everything I think about these cameras, but the first thing I want to talk about is the fact that this is incredibly lightweight and very versatile. The way they implemented this thing is really great because it is a tiny package, and I really mean it. This is a different product. I always thought that the GFX series was great, was amazing in terms of image quality, but it is a little bit bulkier, especially when it comes down to, lenses and the overall form factor. It is tiny compared to what the sensor can do, but it is still bigger than an APS-C camera or a full frame sensor. But in this case, they really did something different here. It really feels like, just smaller. It feels like having an X100 camera in the hands with just a little bit more height, a little bit more depth, and overall it's pretty much the same thing. So yes, this is the perfect mix between the GFX and the X100 series. In terms of processor, it is the same 102 megapixels, X processor 5, as found on the GFX 100S2. It has a fixed 35mm lens, which is an equivalent of 28mm for full frame or 18mm for APS-C, since Fuji people shoot either APS-C or medium formats. That is an interesting choice of focal length. It is interesting because it is not a focal length that everyone would use. I personally got to love this lens, especially for weddings and events. When you get real close to people, I even like to go wider than that, even 24, because you can get a whole universe, the whole environment of the person with the person in the center, and it really gives you an immersive type of field of view. And that's something I really like. And it is great also because having a 102 megapixels sensor means that you can crop in the image. There are digital crops, I'll tell you more about that in a little moment. The fact of having such a lens also means that as for the X100 series cameras, you will have a leaf shutter, and that leaf shutter has a lot of perks. Namely, the fact that there's no max sync speed for flash. So you could use this camera with any flash speed, and you will have no issues whatsoever. Another perk, by the way, about having a fixed lens like this is that you have ND filters inside. So there is a 4-stop ND filter. The maximum shutter speed is 1/16,000 of a second in electronic shutter mode, which is pretty damn fast. But if you want something that's even better, or you need a little bit less light to get into your lens, you can use those 4 stops of ND, and you can shoot wide open in bright sunlight. The maximum aperture is f4, minimum aperture is f22. It has a third of a stop increments, and it feels really good. It is buttery smooth, and it has 2 little knobs on the sides here that allow you to either change it like so, or you can hold it like this. And it makes it so easy to just find where you are and do little increments at the time. And aesthetically, it looks great. The minimum focusing distance is 20 centimeters. As I said, there are 3 digital crops, 3 modes that you can choose from. This is not going to change anything in your raw files. Obviously, it is the same lens, but it is a digital crop, so it's going to crop in the image, which is something you could do after in Lightroom as well. The way you do that is very simple. There is a front lever, and that front lever that is right here allows you to just do the crop into the image. So the different crops you get are 45mm, which is a 36mm equivalent for full frame, a 63mm, which is a 50mm equivalent for full frame, and an 80mm, which is a 63mm equivalent for full frame. So those are the 3 modes that you can get extra to the 28mm or 35 for medium formats. Then there is the aspect ratios, and this is a very peculiar feature that they implemented in this GFX RF. On the wheel that's here on this side, you have the different aspect ratios, and you can basically change to almost any aspect ratio and even crazy ones. So there's the standard ones such as 4:3, which is the native aspect ratio, but then there is the 3:2, 16:9, and that's okay so far. And then there is 65:24, 17:6, 5:4, 7:6, 1:1 square, and 3:4. So you really have all these different aspect ratios to choose from, which is absolutely amazing. Again, this is only for the JPEG. So if you're going to be working on JPEG alone only, it is great. It's going to save you a lot of time in post, editing. If you want, for example, to shoot a landscape and you want it to have a specific panoramic aspect ratio, you can do so. And you will notice that there is a C on this dial. What that C feature does, it's customizable. And in the front here, you have a little wheel, by the way, really awesome. I've never seen this before in Fuji. I think this is the first time, and it feels amazing. And what you can do with that is that you can turn it and it will show you in real time the lines changing, like so, the borders, and making different aspect ratios on your images. That is really convenient, fun, easy to use, and you can change up, spice things up a little bit in your photography and make things look a little bit different. Again, this is not going to change your actual files. So whatever you do is safe because you can do it afterwards again or change it up in Lightroom or in whatever editing program you use in post. Another cool thing is, as you might recall, for those that have been using the X100 series cameras, there's this little knob or dial here in front. That little knob, what it does basically is that it will switch between OVF and EVF and give you that hybrid look when you look into the viewfinder. You might recall that, but that's what it does, right? Well, in this camera, if you're not using the full sensor 4:3 native ratio and you're using anything else, what you can do is you can change basically, those black lines that basically black out the rest of the picture based on what you chose as an aspect ratio. You can choose to make them semi-transparent or completely see-through. And what that does is that it gives you an idea of who's coming in your frame, for example, if you're shooting street photography, or what's around the frame, so you can frame it even better and you can know without having to look away from your viewfinder what's around it. So it's sort of an OVF, but it's on EVF. It's just cool. It's really cool. It's one of those things that Fuji does that's different and that brings a little something to the table. The focus ring in front here can be customized. Right now I have it customized to film simulations. So if you want to change your film simulations, all you have to do is turn this little wheel here and you choose whatever you want. By the way, I think that the silver, and this is my opinion, the silver one is more of a fashion statement. It's more of an accessory that looks good. I mean, you can wear this with pretty much anything and you're gonna look really cool. It's like a retro camera. What's new with Fuji? And the black one looks more like a discreet street photography only camera. I'm sure that's the purpose, but it really is all black. And you can see in terms of design, it doesn't even say Fujifilm in the front, it says it on top. So the front of it looks very, very streamlined. There's basically nothing to show. There's no branding, no nothing. So it looks really cool. There is a tilting screen at the back. It is flush, that's cool. And you have a little thing here that you just pull out seamlessly and effortlessly, and you can use it in both directions. So if you want to shoot high up or down to the ground. This is very cool if you're shooting street photography because you can just hold it at your, waist level and you can just take your photos like so. Now, big controversy. There is no IBIS. There's no in-body image stabilization. The sensor is not stabilized. What does that mean? That means that you cannot go as low in shutter speed as you would when you're shooting with IBIS. And it also means that if you're shooting video, it's not going to be stabilized. So that's great if you're using a gimbal, because I don't use IBIS when I shoot on a gimbal. So that's great. But the purpose of this camera, in fact, I'm not even going to mention video. There are basic video features, 4K, 30p, I think. But the main purpose of this GFX RF is to shoot on the street, I think, or for everyday life. So video is not really in the picture, at least in my opinion. And for shooting handheld, based on my test, you can go down to around 1/8, 1/16 of a second, roughly, if you really are steady and don't move, which is pretty good. Maybe, I mean, you're going to be losing 2 or 3 stops of stabilization, really. So not a huge deal. And I personally never shoot under about 125th of a second unless I really have to. But I mean, ISO is good. The rest of the settings are good. So you should not have too much of a problem with that. Storage wise, there are 2 slots on the side here. Regular SD slots. There's no CF Express Type B, which is great. I would not understand a CF Express Type B card in here for this type of camera. I think putting fast SD cards is good enough. However, if you want to add extra storage, you can use an external SSD drive up to 2 terabytes. So that is a plus. As I mentioned previously in this video, this is a very compact and lightweight camera. It only weighs 735 grams, and we are talking medium format camera. So very, very good package. One thing they include in the package is this strap, okay? Shoulder strap, it is padded over here. There is no branding on it. It doesn't say Fujifilm or anything. It is a sort of nylon strap, and here is like leather on the end. So this thing feels and looks more premium than it would in a regular fat strap that they normally sell. I've never used those straps in my life. They always end up, you know, in the box and they stay there. And when I resell the camera, it is brand new. But this is the type of strap that I would probably use in addition to my custom straps. They also include a lens filter, protection, UV filter, call it as you will, but a protection for your lens. The reason, I think, obviously, is the fact that this is not an interchangeable lens, and if you get a stone or something that comes and breaks the front element of your lens, you'll have to send it in repair and probably change the whole piece. So it might be a bit of an issue if that happens. Hence, the protection glass that they put in front of it when you buy it. I think this is a great addition to the Fuji lineup for people that are mainly street photographers, people that want to have a dedicated 28mm prime lens for events or for anything else for that matter, everyday life. But it is mainly for pro photographers, I think, because we are getting a medium format camera, 102 megapixels. So you also have to think with the fact that it is a lot of resolution. It is a big sensor, and yes, it is great, but at the same time, you're going to get hundreds of megs per file. It is going to take a lot of space, going to take a lot of computing power to, you know, edit those files on your computer and so forth. So you have to think with those things too. It is not just a great thing. It is also a drawback for some that are maybe using an X100 series camera that want to, you know, have something a little bit more compact, more portable and tinier. That might be a better choice. So now we do have a choice between a medium format and an APS-C type of camera. They're very similar. It is basically the same, but you also have a high-end camera with it. I hope this answered most of your questions and curiosities that you had about this camera. Let me know in the comment section below if you're gonna get one for yourself and what you thought of it. And I see you in my next video. If you like my content, consider subscribing so you don't miss any of my future videos. I might do another one here in Prague very soon. Take care. See you soon. Cheers.